You order something online and it arrives like 3 days late, or maybe half the items are just missing entirely.
Oh, yeah. And instantly the blame game kicks off.
Totally. The executives start yelling at the warehouse managers. Then the warehouse manager turns around and blames the truck driver.
Of course, the truck driver just throws their hands up and blames the traffic.
Exactly. It is this massive chain reaction of finger pointing at the immediate physical point of failure.
Which is, the most natural human reaction, right?
Right.
We look at what is directly in front of us.
Right.
The truck isn't here, therefore the truck or the driver or the highway is the problem. But the real failure almost never happens on the asphalt.
Which is exactly why we are doing a deep dive today on the warehouse reality check. We're looking at the OTIF ebook published by ProvisionAi.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating read.
It really is, because this source argues that the real culprit for that late delivery made a mistake weeks ago, sitting in a quiet office, staring at a planning screen.
Right, miles away from any physical warehouse.
Exactly. So our mission today is exploring why what the industry calls OTIF failures, that's on-time, in-full metrics, are almost always downstream symptoms of, massive upstream planning failures.
And to really understand the sheer gravity of those planning failures, we have to look at the financial realities of missing an OTIF target.
Right, because it's not just a slap on the wrist.
Not at all. This isn't just a friendly internal KPI on a dashboard. It is a strict, aggressively enforced compliance standard. The source actually brings up Walmart as the ultimate example here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Walmart is on another level.
They really are. They are doing over $1 billion in sales every single day.
Wait, $1 billion a day? That's hard to even wrap your head around.
It's massive. And because Walmart relies so heavily on cross-docking, the stakes are incredibly high.
So cross-docking, for anyone who might not be super familiar, that means moving products straight from the inbound supplier truck directly across the facility, right?
Exactly. Straight from the inbound dock to an outbound store truck, which means there is virtually zero safety stock buffering them at the store level.
So the product never just sits on a shelf in the back room gathering dust.
No, it is constantly moving.
Yeah.
So if a supplier's delivery misses its very specific, tightly orchestrated unloading slot at that distribution center, it is a catastrophic disruption.
Because those dock doors are scheduled down to the minute.
Right. Being late means you lose your slot entirely.
And losing your slot means the product doesn't get cross-docked, which means the outbound truck heading to the retail store leaves without your product.
Exactly. The immediate physical result is an empty shelf and a lost sale for Walmart. But the secondary result, the one for the supplier, is a massive punitive fine from the retailer.
Oh, yeah. The chargebacks.
Yep. 3% of the cost of goods sold is a very common penalty in the industry. And that's just for being a day late, or honestly, even a few cases short.
3%. That completely wipes out your profit margin on that shipment.
It really does. It's punishing.
So when the fines are that severe, I feel like the gut reaction solution seems incredibly obvious, right? Why wouldn't a supplier just manufacture a mountain of extra product and hoard it?
The hoarding strategy.
Yeah, like if you just keep everything in stock everywhere all the time, you never miss a delivery, and you never pay a fine.
It sounds great in theory, but that illusion of safety is essentially a CFO's worst nightmare.
Because of the cost.
Exactly. You cannot buy your way out of OTIF failures with excess inventory because it completely chokes a company's cash flow. You are taking millions of dollars of liquid capital and trapping it inside physical cardboard boxes.
Right, tying up all your cash. Plus, real estate isn't free. You eventually run out of physical space to put those boxes.
Exactly. And not only do you run out of space, but you introduce this massive risk of product obsolescence.
Oh, true. Things expire or go out of style.
Right. Consumer demand shifts, a competitor releases a new model, or perishable goods expire, and suddenly that mountain of safety stock you hoarded to protect your OTIF score becomes a mountain of highly expensive garbage.
Garbage that you literally have to pay someone to dispose of.
Exactly. So the strategy has to be precision, having the exact right amount of stock in the exact right place at the exact right time.
And the pursuit of that mathematical precision brings us to advanced planning and scheduling software, or APS, as the industry calls it.
Right, APS.
If precision is the goal, ATS systems seem like the ultimate tool. They ingest massive amounts of historical data, demand variability, all of that, just to calculate the mathematically perfect balance of inventory.
They do. And they essentially manage two distinct types of inventory to achieve that balance.
Okay, what are they?
So there is cycle stock, which is the working inventory you expect to burn through based on average, everyday customer demand.
Like your daily bread and butter.
Exactly. And then there is safety stock, which is the emergency buffer you hold to protect against sudden spikes in demand or supply chain delays.
Got it.
The logic behind how APS manages both of these has evolved over 30-plus years. And mathematically speaking, it is quite brilliant.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. If this software has been evolving for 3 decades, and its entire purpose is to perfectly balance cycle stock and safety stock, why is the source material pointing to APS as the root cause of these massive OTIF failures?
What's fascinating here is that APS systems, for all that algorithmic elegance, operate in a total vacuum.
A vacuum? How do you mean?
They make these highly sensitive decisions that are completely disconnected from real-world supply chain execution realities. Like, they calculate the math of supply and demand perfectly.
But they miss the real world.
Exactly. They're entirely blind to the physics of moving physical boxes through physical dock doors.
Okay, so is it essentially like a GPS navigation system that calculates the mathematically perfect route to your destination, but completely ignores the fact that your car is out of gas and there is a massive parade blocking the highway?
That is a perfect way to look at it. The math works, but the reality doesn't. The APS algorithm doesn't know about facility throughput constraints.
Right.
It doesn't know that 3 out of your 20 dock doors are broken today. It has no idea if the warehouse is severely short-staffed this week because half the forklift drivers called out sick.
So the software just assumes infinite capacity.
Infinite capacity, infinite labor. Always.
Wow. The source text actually gives the staggering example of how that blindness plays out in real life. They call it the grand slam of OTIF failure.
Oh yeah, that example is wild. It really centers around how hypersensitive the supply planning algorithms actually are.
Because they're designed to prevent stockouts at all costs, right?
Exactly. The sensitivity is where the system really breaks down. Because the algorithm is so terrified of a stockout, a dip in inventory of just one single case below the designated safety stock threshold can trigger an automated replenishment order.
Wait, really? Just one case triggers a whole order? But it doesn't just send one case to replace the one case, does it?
Far from it. The system sees that microscopic drop, hits a critical threshold, and basically panics. It triggers full truckloads of replenishment.
That's nuts.
And it gets worse. Because demand trends often hit a company's entire network simultaneously. Say, at the end of a fiscal quarter, the APS might blindly decide that a specific regional facility needs 100 replenishment trucks to arrive at the exact same time to restore the safety stock levels.
Okay, let's follow that scenario through to the physical warehouse. The APS triggers 100 trucks to show up on, say, a Tuesday.
Right.
And that Tuesday also happens to be the last week of the month, which is the exact time the warehouse is already in an absolute frenzy trying to load outbound shipments to actual customers to hit their quarterly revenue targets.
Exactly. The physical reality violently collides with the digital plan. The yard backs up with 100 unexpected inbound trucks.
Which they have no room for.
None. And the warehouse labor force physically breaks down because they cannot possibly unload 100 inbound replenishments while simultaneously trying to pick, pack, and load outbound customer orders.
So the dock just gets hopelessly congested.
Trailers get trapped in the yard, people are working overtime, and the most critical thing, the outbound customer shipments, miss their departure windows.
And then OTIF plummets, and those math retailer fines start rolling in.
All because a brilliantly designed software program operating in a silo panicked over a math equation and assumed the warehouse had infinite space.
It's so ironic. The very system designed to keep the supply chain running smoothly ends up crushing the physical operation under the weight of an unexecutable plan.
It really is. It's a self-inflicted wound.
Okay, so if the APS is blindly throwing 100 trucks at a constrained warehouse, how do companies actually intervene without just, unplugging their multi-million-dollar software? How do you stop the physical network from collapsing?
Well, you have to introduce a layer of intelligence that bridges the gap, something that sits between the theoretical plan and the physical constraints of the warehouse.
Right. And this is where the source text points heavily to a specific strategy and technology called LevelLoad, developed by ProvisionAi.
Yes, LevelLoad.
The source basically frames LevelLoad as the unsung hero of OTIF improvement. How does it intercept that 100-truck panic?
So think of your warehouse capacity, your dock doors, your labor, your physical square footage as a piece of bread.
Okay, I'm with you.
And the volume of trucks the APS wants to send is a jar of peanut butter. If the APS dumps the entire jar of peanut butter into one single corner of the bread, what happens?
The bread breaks. It's way too heavy. The warehouse fails.
Exactly. Level loading is the knife that spreads that peanut butter evenly across the entire surface.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I get the visual, spreading the peanut butter, but mathematically, how does the software actually decide how to do that?
What do you mean?
Well, if the APS is screaming that all 100 trucks are totally critical and must arrive on Tuesday, what are the tiebreakers LevelLoad uses to decide which trucks get pushed to Wednesday and which get pulled forward to Monday?
Ah, right. It looks at the 30-day horizon and runs a highly complex prioritization matrix. It doesn't just blindly look what the APS wants.
So it's looking at real-world risk.
Exactly. It looks at the actual out-of-stock risk percentages at the destination facility. It looks at promotional schedules. But the golden rule, the ultimate tiebreaker built into the level loading logic, is that outbound customer shipments always take priority over internal stock transfers.
Right, because outbound shipments actually generate revenue and keep retailers like Walmart happy.
Exactly. Level loading acts as a constraint-aware buffer. It actually knows the physical limits.
So it looks at the APS plan and determines, okay, this specific warehouse can only safely process 20 trucks a day without failing.
Yep. So it takes that 100-truck spike and levels it out. It fills in the valleys on quieter days by proactively accelerating some shipments when the warehouse has spare capacity.
And then it intentionally delays the less urgent internal replenishments when the site is maxed out.
You got it. It literally reshapes the demand curve so the facility never takes on more volume than its physical throughput can handle.
But to do that, you are essentially overriding the APS system. The source points out that this isn't always a popular move in planning departments.
Oh, not at all. Planners historically hate stepping in and telling the algorithm it's wrong.
Because they've been trained to trust it, right?
There is a deep-seated culture in planning to trust the system. Manual overrides have traditionally been viewed as introducing human error. But the reality check here is that injecting practical, constraint-aware judgment into the process is a mandatory lever if you want to lift OTIF scores. You simply cannot let a mathematically perfect but physically impossible plan dictate operations.
That makes a lot of sense. Smoothing the schedule, spreading the peanut butter, the warehouse is no longer drowning in an impossible number of trucks on any given Tuesday.
Right.
But wait, if level loading is constantly shifting when these trucks arrive to protect the warehouse's capacity, aren't we messing up the actual contents of those trucks?
How so?
Well, how do you make sure the most critical, high-priority items aren't sitting on a truck that you just decided to delay until next week?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the strategy has to shift from just managing capacity to managing inventory agility.
Okay, agility.
You have to separate the booking of the transportation from the allocation of the inventory. And the solution the source presents is actually highly counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive, how?
You intentionally delay defining what goes into the truck until the last possible moment.
Wait, delay it. Doesn't procrastinating on what goes into the truck just cause absolute panic on the loading dock? Why wouldn't we want to be as prepared as possible as early as possible?
To understand why early preparation is actually a trap here, we have to look at the lead times involved with freight carriers.
Okay.
If you want a 53-foot truck to show up at your facility on a Friday, you can't just call a carrier on Thursday night. They require days of notice to position their equipment, balance their network, and assign drivers.
So you have to secure that physical capacity well in advance.
Yes. But traditional planning logic says, if I am booking a truck for Friday, my enterprise resource planning system, the ERP, requires me to attach specific line items to that shipment record today on Monday.
So the software basically forces your hand.
Exactly. The ERP software structurally demands to know exactly what pallets and SKUs are going on that truck just to generate a load ID.
And the moment you attach those specific SKUs to the Friday truck on Monday, you have completely frozen your inventory.
You have digitally locked that product away. You have hard allocated specific physical pallets to a truck that won't even arrive for 4 days.
Which means you are artificially constraining your own stock. Like, if a massive, urgent customer order drops on Wednesday and you desperately need that exact product to fulfill it, you can't use it.
Nope. The ERP system says it's already reserved for Friday's truck.
Even though the product is sitting right there in your warehouse.
Digitally, it is untouchable. It's so frustrating for warehouse managers. So the question becomes, how do you secure the physical truck with the carrier days in advance without falling into the trap of freezing your inventory?
The source mentions ProvisionAi solves this using something called dummy codes in the ERP. How does that mechanism actually work without crashing the financial tracking software?
It's actually a really clever workaround. The ERP system demands a SKU to build the shipment record, right?
Right.
So ProvisionAi's LevelLoad system injects a placeholder, a dummy code. This satisfies the ERP's structural requirement.
Ah, I see.
It allows the system to secure the routing guide, tender the load to the carrier, and reserve the physical truck for Friday. But it leaves the actual contents of the truck completely blank.
Oh, that's brilliant. It secures the seat on the airplane, but it doesn't assign a specific passenger until the boarding gate opens.
A perfect analogy. By postponing the final inventory assignment, companies maintain total agility. They aren't locked into a decision they made on Monday when Friday rolls around.
But at some point, the truck backs up to the dock door, and the forklift driver needs to know what to put inside. What replaces that dummy code when the truck actually arrives?
Right before loading begins, a tool mentioned in the source called OTIF steps in.
OTIF.
Yes, it's an optimizing load builder, but it doesn't just do basic math. It acts like an advanced game of 3D Tetris. Seconds before the forklift tries in, OTIF pulls the absolute latest, up-to-the-minute demand data.
Like real-time data.
Exactly, including live point-of-sale data, current promotional metrics, and any immediate out-of-stock risks.
So it evaluates the reality of the supply chain exactly as it exists on Friday morning, not as it was forecasted back on Monday.
Yes, it takes that real-time data, calculates the weight, volume, and axle limits of the specific trailer sitting at the dock, and replaces the dummy codes with the absolute highest priority pallets.
That's incredible.
It builds the perfect, legally compliant, maximized load dynamically.
And the real-world results of this intentional delay are undeniable. The source notes that by prioritizing flexibility over early precision, companies see drastically higher fulfillment accuracy.
Because you are loading exactly what is needed at that exact second.
Right. You don't have situations where a truck arrives at a destination with a mix of products that made sense 4 days ago but are completely useless today.
Which means fewer expensive reworks at the destination facility. You aren't paying labor to unload product you don't currently need, just to store it and wait.
And it virtually eliminates those panic-inducing expedited shipments. You don't have to throw emergency product on an airplane at an astronomical cost just because you allocated your inventory poorly earlier in the week.
Exactly. All of these mechanisms, smoothing the schedule, delaying the allocation, utilizing that 3D load building, they all lead directly back to a drastically improved OTIF score.
You hit your delivery targets, you avoid the massive retailer fines, and you keep the physical shelves stocked.
But let's be real, it requires a profound shift in mindset for supply chain leaders.
Yeah.
You have to stop trying to predict the future perfectly, days in advance.
Because forecasting will always have a margin of error.
Always. Instead, you build a system that is agile enough to react to reality exactly as it unfolds.
So what does this all mean when we put the pieces together? The source text frames this perfectly. OTIF isn't just a dashboard metric, it's a mirror.
A very unforgiving mirror. If you are continually missing your OTIF targets and bleeding capital and fines to retailers, it is a glaring sign that your digital planning process is fundamentally clashing with your physical execution capabilities.
You can't just yell at the warehouse manager or blame the truck driver anymore. The failure was coded into the plan weeks before the truck was ever dispatched.
This really highlights a crucial distinction for the industry. Having data visibility, like having a dashboard that flashes red to tell you a truck is going to be late, is nice. But visibility without execution capability is just watching a car crash in slow motion.
Wow, that's a great way to put it.
Action is better. Solutions like ProvisionAi's LevelLoad, combined with rigorous cross-functional reviews, where the planning department and the warehouse execution team actually share constraint data that allows a company to truly intervene.
It moves a company from just measuring the failure to preventing it before the order ever hits the warehouse floor.
Exactly.
By tracking root causes at the order level, the supply chain stops being a reactive victim of the algorithm and starts proactively orchestrating reality.
Right. It's about taking back control.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to mull over today. We've spent this deep dive exploring how absolutely vital it is for our digital planning systems to finally understand and respect the physical limits of human labor, of dock doors, and of real-world warehouse constraints.
The peanut butter on the bread.
Exactly. But as we move rapidly toward a near future of fully automated, robotics-driven warehouses, how is this dynamic going to shift?
Oh, that's a great question.
If physical constraints practically disappear because robots don't need coffee breaks, they don't have shift changes, and they can operate in the dark at hyperspeed, we still need to carefully spread the peanut butter evenly across the week.
Or will our AI systems just learn to eat the whole jar at once?
Exactly. As the physical world catches up to the speed of the digital one, how will your planning have to evolve?
It really challenges the very foundation of how we build supply chain software moving forward.
Definitely something to think about the next time a package arrives exactly on time. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on the warehouse reality check.